Hello and welcome again to Conscious TV. I'm Ian McNay and my guest today is Gábor Harsányi. Hello Gábor.
Hi.
And Gábor is a master of silence. I think that's a wonderful title. And we're going to find out how he became a master of silence. And he has really quite a story to tell. He's lived quite a life and been through many things. And we're going to get a feel of that and also obviously a feel of where he is these days. So Gábor, you were living in Hungary when there was a 1956 uprising when the Russian tanks came in. That must have been very hard for you.
Yes, most of my childhood was spent in an upheaval type of situation. I remember when I was really young, like 3 years old, and there was it was just flowers and plants next to our house. I used to walk and be at total peace. And then after that, a lot of trouble started, all kinds of trouble. The 1956 revolution came, and then my father was part of that uprising. So we were pushed back and forth and back and forth. All kinds of emotions came up, all kinds of emotions. Other type of emotions came. And then, of course, the revolution was beaten down. And so my father was taken in and out of jail for a few years after 1956. So that was really dramatic and emotionally shaking. It was an emotional shake-up.
And how do you remember the peace you found when you were with the plants?
It's not in memory. It's in, I may say, it's not in my mental memory. It's in some kind of an other memory. There was this nurturing, wonderful feeling that I felt at home between the plants and the grass. And very early I was wondering, what am I doing here? Like, why are all these people so weird?
So like you didn't fit in somehow?
No, I didn't fit in at all.
Okay, and then when you got a little older, you decided you didn't want to stay in Hungary.
Yes. Well, I was, when I was in Hungary, I was dreaming of going to America. And what America represented at the time was freedom. And I didn't know that what I was after is inner freedom. That concept was not even available to me. I guess I just wanted I wanted the chain to be looser, or I wanted the chain to be made out of gold, let's say. So I was really desperately going for freedom, freedom, freedom. As to what it represented to me at the time is being able to travel, have enough money, do what you want kind of thing. So that's when I escaped. I spent 6 months in a refugee camp in Italy.
Were you on your own when you escaped, or were you with some friends?
I was with another person.
Yes.
And then basically the two of us attempted to escape.
But it must have been hard to leave your family.
Yes. Yes, it was extremely hard. There was something inside me that yanked me out, if I may use that expression.
Yes, yeah.
There was some kind of a power that helped me to make it. It was not much planning, it just happened. So the desire, the vision actually happened of getting out and being free.
So practically you had to go through Yugoslavia.
Yes.
Then you mentioned you were in Italy.
Yes.
So you were walking basically,
Yes.
were you?
Yes. Yes.
And Yugoslavia was then, although it was Tito
communist.
in power, it was
Yeah.
still a communist country,
Yeah,
yes.
still communist at the time. It was easier to cross to from Yugoslavia to Italy
Yes.
than, let's say, from Hungary to Austria.
Yes.
So I decided to take that route. And I escaped from Koper, which is in Yugoslavia, to Italy, that side called Trieste, Trieste. in
And
Italy.
was that dangerous, that
Yes,
that journey?
it was very dangerous.
Yeah.
It was very dangerous. They were actually, I mean, they were actually shooting, and dogs were running after us
Wow.
and stuff like that.
Wow.
But very, very dramatic again.
Yes.
Even to remember it is kind of weird, you know. It
But
was
you were
so-
determined to make it.
I was determined to make it. I was running.
Yeah.
And I walked like, I don't know, 60 kilometers from the border to Trieste. And then I registered with the police. For 2 days I didn't know what to do. So I lived in a telephone booth.
Huh.
And I didn't know what to do. I was 18. Lots of testosterone, but lots of fear also. Didn't know what's going to happen. Are they going to ship me back to Hungary? Are they going to accept me? What's going to happen? So after a couple of days, I went to the police, and they took me into the refugee camp, where I spent 6 months.
And of course, now in Europe, we have so many this is 2016. We're making this program. We have
Right.
so many refugees coming into Europe. So in a
Yeah.
way, you were experiencing them similar situations to what the refugees are experiencing now.
Yes. And certainly my escape and my troubles are really nothing in comparison to the people that, what's happening to these people right now. I didn't have a child to carry, or I was on my own. I was 18. And also there was very few refugees.
Okay.
So Italy didn't have to deal with 10,000 of them
Yes.
a day. So I was extremely fortunate to escape at that time, and I was a refugee at that time. I was well treated, and they didn't have the current refugee
I understand.
problems that they have now.
Yeah. So then you were able to get from Italy to Canada,
Yes.
and I guess you flew there, and somehow that was financed. And
Yes.
yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. I flew to Canada. I landed, and basically I ran out of the plane, and I said, "Okay, here I come. I'm ambitious. What do I have to do to become successful?" Success meant financial success.
Yes.
I didn't care really what I have to do, within reason. And so reasonably quickly I became very successful financially, because that's really all I wanted. Totally believing that that's what's going to give me that freedom that I was looking for.
Yeah, but how did you do that? Because here you come, you're a refugee, presumably your English wasn't that good, you get to a foreign country, and pretty quickly you
Right.
become a multimillionaire.
Yes,
in your
by
notes
the
you
time
say-
I was 30, yes.
Yeah, so how do you actually do that? I'm intrigued how you can do that in a foreign country so quickly.
I would call that creative stupidity. I was not educated enough to know what won't work. I quickly learned English. I worked for a British company for a couple of years, Gestetner at the time.
Yeah, yeah.
I was the only immigrant kid, so you can imagine how many jokes they made with me and things like that. I went to university, I took electronics engineering, but I never got a job. I immediately went into real estate. And I bought and sold, and I bought and sold land. I bought and sold land at the time that other people didn't, because the interest rates were so high. So I had no idea why I can't succeed. If there is a secret to that success, it was, I didn't know I can't.
You had nothing to lose in a way.
Nothing to lose.
Yeah.
I didn't know what accounting meant, or I used to think net worth was perhaps lady stockings or something like that. And so the initial success was really raw trial and not thinking much about it.
Okay. So you got this success, you're a multimillionaire. In the notes that you gave me, it was saying you got married to a beautiful woman, you had 3 children.
Yes.
Everything in life seemed wonderful.
Yes. Life was wonderful, great success, lots of money, parties, the best cars, etc., etc. just how I imagined success to be. Success meaning freedom. And yes, there was some freedom within reason, but when you make parties and you have thousands of friends, there was really mainly acquaintances. The true friends didn't exist at the time. I didn't know who isn't my friend. And so I used to go home every night, and I used to drink 2 bottles of wine just to calm my nerves and to be able to go to sleep. And something was missing. Even though I was successful, something was really missing. I not yet gotten what I was looking for.
Okay.
Which was freedom, but I have interpreted freedom as financial success.
Yes. So did you have, at that point, did you have a feeling of what might lead to real freedom, or were you just in this position that you realized what you'd done wasn't going to work or wasn't working?
Yeah. Knowing something was missing, didn't quite know what the solution is, but I turned to so-called spirituality. And I have seen a videotape at the time of Ramta.
Okay.
And I have, and as soon as I saw it, I thought, okay, this is exactly what I want to know. It was again such a power in me, such a desire to go and learn that. That's what I want to know. That's kind of what's missing. That's the direction I need to go. So I shifted directions. And the universe was very helpful and kind to me in shifting directions. At the same time, I lost all my money, all my friends.
So there was this is the 1990s?
Early 90s, yeah.
Was it 97? I don't remember the year, but the financial crash.
89,
yes.
90.
89, that's right, yeah.
Yeah.
And because but also you had studied some martial arts, hadn't you? Karate, kung fu, kickbox.
Yes.
Kickboxing. So you had some idea of kind of how you could at least have energy in the body or generate that kind of spiritual energy through the body, I guess.
I know that now. At the time, I didn't know that in my martial arts training, they taught me something very basic.
Okay.
That was extremely useful later on. But since I knew it in the martial arts context, I did not know that that's going to be the key ingredient later on.
Yes.
For being in the body or having the inner peace.
Okay.
That came much later.
Okay.
And of course I did a lot of martial arts because, again, I wanted freedom and I wanted to protect myself. I was a very sensitive soul, quote unquote. So I wanted to protect myself with martial arts, lots of money, better lawyers, etc., etc.
So you saw at that time the martial arts as part of the outer success in a way, or protecting the outer success.
Yeah. Outer success and protection.
Yes. Okay. So you mentioned that you were pulled by Ramtha, and I think at that time, just double checking here in my notes, that of course you had to leave your family for that.
Yes.
But wasn't that wasn't that difficult to leave your family and your children?
The hardest thing to do in my entire life was that. Escaping from Hungary and doing all the other things, even depression was not nearly as hard as that. Something, again, yanked me out and placed me to the west coast of the United States. I started to live in a forest very quietly, and every moment, every day, there was this mental, emotional challenge about my family. I should be with my family. I should be with my family. So that was the hardest decision ever to make.
So you wanted to say no to civilization somehow.
Exactly.
You're living in the. Well, were you actually, when you say living in the forest, you were living in a hut or something. You weren't actually living in the open in the forest, were you?
No. Actually built a small log cabin out of the trees that was there, and I was totally self-sufficient with my own electricity and had my own garden and had food storage, stuff like that. So I turned from so-called the civilization to to a whole different direction. At least that's what I thought.
But you were very resourceful to do that on your own, to build your own place in the forest and survive. Yeah.
I had lots of help. In a community like that, there's lots of help available.
Okay.
I met the most interesting, wonderful people who were very different, who were very supportive to have that kind of lifestyle.
So, what did you feel was changing in you at that time? In retrospect, what was changing is I substituted one ego need, money, to another ego need. I am now spiritual. I said goodbye to civilization, and I am now a better person, slightly better than you, because I am now spiritual and I'm going in this direction. So I didn't know that at the time, but in retrospect, that's really what it was. Now I'm collecting data and information instead of collecting data about how to make more money. I was collecting information with respect to spirituality, different type of meditation, different type of knowledge, the unseen, the chakras, and on and on and on. So in a way, something at your core wasn't actually changing or wasn't challenged at that point.
What has shifted is a different type of ego developed. I still had the male ego, and I had all those wonderful experiences with Ramta, all those meditations and breathing exercises that made you feel so good. So I was absolutely sure that I'm on the right track now. Mm. Before I used to feel good about my success. Oh, I got this done. Now I felt, oh, when is the next seminar? When is the next retreat? So for a while it felt so good, powerful. What I didn't know is that I was still in the duality swing.
Okay.
So something felt so good, but then it goes away. Again, something felt so good. Oh, this must be the right track because I now have a Kundalini experience. I am crying and laughing at the same time. That must be it. Mm. The amazing euphoria that followed some of the exercises were amazing for days. And so I was absolutely sure that that's it, that's the right track. There's no right or wrong track. I'm just saying that path is not the way to awakening, because you're still in the duality swing.
But at the time, you felt, because you had the highs, as you said, you were on the right path. So how did the questioning start to take effect? How did you start to realize that you probably or possibly weren't on the right path?
I didn't question it, and I didn't know that I was on the right path or on the wrong path. It was, I had an experience of business, something was missing. I had an experience of spirituality, which I know it means different things to different people. And I was not aware that there is anything else. There is this direction and there is that direction, and something was definitely missing. I started to have depression. I started to be interested in other things now, other teachers, other meditation techniques. Also, I started to build a condominium building with a friend in Puerto Vallarta in Mexico. So I got involved with a construction project in Mexico. If you're unprepared, I don't recommend it to anyone. So things started to change. I made moves again, not knowing where I'm going or what. Something was still missing.
Mm. So you mentioned depression. What form did the depression take?
It lasted about 12 years altogether. In the meantime,
12 years?
12 years,
It's a long
yeah.
time, yeah.
The depression is, I had to function while I was depressed. Hardly anyone ever noticed, but it was a feeling of I get up in the morning and I don't want to live. Sometimes I bicycle to the beach, the most beautiful area, one of the most beautiful areas of the world. I should be happy, right? No, it's just like, perhaps I should drive under the bus. Perhaps, I mean, all those weird thoughts. So the questioning of my own existence came into effect with the depression. Looking at it from my eyes now, the existential shake-up was necessary for me to even consider awakening. It's an existential shake-up, and depression is a very good existential shake-up. You don't want to exist. So now we're getting close to existence. So I think that's how the universe guided me to the existential question.
But did you see a way out of the depression at the time?
No. I thought that that's just the way it is. I tried to get help here and there and everywhere. It helped very temporarily. It was helpful. One of the things I did is I was fortunate enough to spend 3.5 months with an Indian tribe in the Amazon in Ecuador. I took a trip to Ecuador, and someone introduced me to a shaman of a tribe. And although he didn't speak Spanish or English, but he gave me permission to stay with them. By that time I was doing construction in Mexico. I had depression. So I was under a lot of stress plus depression. Something was pulling me there, to be there. My first impression was amazing, that I woke up first morning scratching like crazy because of the bugs, and I was not used to the environment. That the people were just sitting there, just sitting. I was the only one with all my spiritual experience and knowledge that was pretending to be sitting. I was sitting, but inside my mind was going. When am I going to learn something? Where is this going? When am I going to be initiated? Ooh. So I can tell my friend, ooh, I was initiated. And after a week or so, the shaman took pity on me and made me some ayahuasca tea. And I took that twice a week for 3 weeks. And that helped me calm down, totally. I still couldn't be just, I still couldn't just be like the rest of them, just sit. I still had anticipation. They were actually sitting with no anticipation. No expectation, nothing. I still had some expectation of the future. I wonder what's next. I wonder what knowledge am I going to be, somebody's going to impart to me. And so that was, finally I was able to relax and stay with them and be there. I could actually be there rather than think of something else. And the major realization for me was that in spite of all my knowledge about spirituality and many meditation techniques, many things, I didn't know anything. They knew something that I didn't. I didn't know what it was or how it was. I thought it was some kind of a coincidence. But that left a major question in my heart called, okay, I tried this, I tried that. There is these people who know nothing and I know everything, and how come they can just sit and I can't?
So the bottom line was they were happy and you weren't happy, basically.
We can call it that way.
Yeah.
Just they were able to just be.
Yeah.
In the meantime, of course, I'm having my existential shake-up with the depression.
Yeah.
So knowing that I don't know was very helpful. I was I was like giving up on life, basically. The depression lasted so long. It took a toll on my body and my relationship and everything. Mm. And one day I was walking on the beach, just sit down, and I remember the martial arts tactic that I learned when I was in my 20s. When I received the so-called black belt, my teacher taught me how to be in the body, because if we were demonstrating things to the public, for example, you can hold your arm out, and if you're inside the arm, they will not be able to bend your arm, or it will be very hard. There is those martial arts demonstrations that we were doing. And so I remembered how to do that. And it was easy because I learned how to do it then, so I said, okay, let me try that. Jesus also said, the kingdom of God is within, and seek ye first the kingdom of God, and all else shall be added unto you. Okay. I've tried all those things, so why not look inside, really? I actually know how, so okay. No, and the mind says, no, hold on, you gotta try that too, because that's more exciting. No, I'm gonna try this going inside. No, you must try first. Let's go back to Ramta and learn such and such, go to that level. And when you go that level, then you try. No, okay. Jesus said that, it's within, so let's go with
Kingdom of God is within.
Yeah, within. So I didn't know what the hell is within. What's within? Within what? And so, in my desperation and my existential shake-up, in the midst of existential shake-up, being close to existence, I go look inside. And looking inside is not a visionary thing where you say, okay, I'm imagining looking inside. It's a feeling, it's a sensing of the inner body's nurturing. There's a nurturing intelligence feeling within the body that runs the body. And we have access to that. So, oops, I look inside. And all of a sudden, the waves from the ocean were different. Mainly in what I was hearing. The hearing shifted. And I could hear the waves differently. So my ego right away says, oh, look at that, look at, look at how it works. Calm down, it's okay, let's just look inside. It wasn't difficult to stay because I had such an existential shake-up that for me it wasn't difficult to just stay there peacefully. At that instant, I realized what it means to be inside. It was instant, it wasn't gradual. Amazing amount of, I don't know what to call it, euphoria, pleasure of, oh, okay, now I know what it means to be inside. All along it was right in front of me. I even knew how to do it. It was right in front of me. It's simple, but no, I don't want to do this, I want to do that. That's more exciting.
But that we sometimes have to exhaust what's on the outside, and that's just the way it is, isn't it?
Exactly. It was all exhausted. All these other trials went bankrupt in it didn't work.
But the whole of society is building this up for us, and that's kind of our level of what we aim for. It takes a very courageous being or a desperate being to really say this is all not going to work.
Yeah.
I have to come back here. It's very rare, actually.
Right. It was a very fortunate, unfortunate thing. The desperation were so big, so high. My existential shake-up that one little look, one little touch, I call it a touch, was enough to have this instant of realization of simplicity that's available to me and to everyone else.
And what happened to the depression when you did that?
Good question. The depression that I felt at that time was instantly gone. It was an instant shift. It was instantly gone. But it has tried to come back. It has taken a mental form. It had its memory now after 12 years. Look at that, this is how you are, da, 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 da. So it, like every other mental memory form, tried to come back, tried to come back, tried to come back. But now I was very aware of the simplicity of the one touch paying attention. Just one small paying attention, and that small effort of paying attention takes care of 100 depression. Instantly you step out of the duality swing and it's no longer in my reality. So it has tried to come back and has actually trained me to go deeper and deeper and deeper into present, because occasionally try to come back really hard, and when something really hard happens in our life, in duality, we just have to go in, but just a little deeper, just a little deeper.
So depression actually was a catalyst for you to go even deeper inside yourself.
Absolutely, yes.
Yeah.
It served
so
as
there was a gift there somehow.
It was a huge gift to me, yeah. Initially, it has made me try to look inside, and secondarily, when I tried to come back, it helped me to go deeper and deeper and deeper. Realizing the same thing deeper and deeper and deeper. There is no deeper, but it's just an expression.
No, I understand that, yes, yeah. And I guess there's so many things in so many areas of life, and I can include myself in this, maybe, that something goes, what you think is wrong or is difficult, a challenge, if you like, and of course, that in a way is as I said, the catalyst. That's the thing that is unsettling, and without that, you wouldn't explore.
That's
and
right.
You wouldn't end up going deeper inside, because
Exactly.
there wouldn't be, the motivation wouldn't be there.
Exactly.
And people that have fairly normal, balanced lives often don't find this pearl that you found.
Well, what's really weird, I don't know what word to use, that the opportunities are available to everyone consistently, all throughout our lives. One doesn't have to be depressed to get there. That was my path. It's just, your personal path is your personal path. The realization is instant, and the opportunities are consistently there for us to have this self-realization, because life brings us situations, and the immediate response of the untrained mind, let's call it that way, is to go and fix this, whatever this is. Situation comes, I go fix it. Which is a normal way to attend a problem. The other way to do it, if someone chooses, is different. This something came into my reality. The universe, God, who is a lot smarter than me, put this in front of me. So why don't I just embrace this and be with it? It'll actually help me embody that situation. Not embody, in-body, I-N, in-body. When that, whatever it is in my body. Now it's so close to me that I can shift, I have the ability to shift it. So this something which came into my reality became a catalyst for me. And in turn, almost always, the situation also shifts. So a human situation could be used that way. And that way life, whatever life brings us, is a consistent seminar, custom-made seminar for us, because life knows a lot more, a lot better, what sort of situation do I need to deal with.
How did this realization, how did it change how you saw reality?
It's the way I used to see reality is the way we all see reality. Now I see the exact same reality as is, except from a different context. The mind, which has been running, our mind has not been given the proper nurturing and the proper context within which it can operate properly.
So when you say the mind hasn't been given the proper nurturing, explain that more, what you mean by that.
Very hard. We call it the mind, but our attention have been hijacked by institutional fear and all kinds of things.
And the speed of society,
Yeah,
everything.
speed. Think of this, think of that,
exactly,
think of that, think of that. And no, don't pay attention here. It's over there, it's over there. I tell you exactly what to fear today.
Well, the television does that in the
television,
morning.
whatever.
Yeah.
So we are inundated with all that information.
Yes.
Our mind, our ability to function properly is totally hijacked. Even the synchronization between vision and sound has been hijacked. They tell us what sound goes with what vision. So all this God-given ability have been totally hijacked. So simple touching, a simple inner attention gets my mind and your mind, everyone's mind, to get aligned with the body. The body was here and the mind was here. Now it's just simply lines up with the body. Why is it good to line up with the body? Well, the body already has the innate intelligence. It's like a mini universe, really. It's a smaller fractal of the large universe out there. So why not use that intelligence? In many spiritual circles, the body is a no-no. Oh no, I'm not the body. I got to do astral traveling and I got to step out somehow. And I know I'm not this, I'm all that. It's a half-true statement. Yes, it's true, but there is the door. We knock on the door by paying attention, using the words of Jesus. Knock on the door, paying attention. The door opens, and instantly I feel one with everyone. Now, back to your original question, how did it affect my outlook on life, I think you were asking? Now the mind can function properly. Instead of functioning in a hijacked fashion.
What does that mean, the mind can function properly?
It means that my capability of paying attention and all the information that I have learned so far, all the information that I made a template of in life, which is important, how to build a bridge, how to play tennis, how to do this, how to do that, how to... all the education I've had created this a bunch of information and put them together in a template or in a format or in a thought stream. Problem is, if the mind is hijacked, it's just going to go like a loose cannon. Bang, bang, oh, how about this, how about this, how about that, how about that. So all that wonderful information is just about useless if the mind runs like an idiot.
Okay.
In a lunatic asylum.
Yeah.
You know. However, if it's placed on its foundation where it's supposed to be, and it is also nurtured naturally the way it should be, now the mind is at home. First it rebels because it's used to operating by itself. No. First it rebels, but then in time it settles into this new foundation. And now the proper use of mind is that I can think of whatever I want to think of. It's like walking into a library, calm, and I can pick out any book. Before that, I walked into that same library and the books were attacking.
Yeah, so the mind becomes the mind becomes your servant rather than your master somehow.
Yeah, we can call it that way.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah.
And the mind is happy doing that because it wasn't quite happy being hijacked, except it's got used to it. Yeah.
You talk about, I just wanted to mention something. I've got these notes from that you gave me, or came from your wife's book. Your final and actual realizations appear on their own, rather as subtle and uneventful happening beyond the senses and very difficult to describe. So I was interested when you say the final and actual realizations appear on their own.
Now, of course, we're into an area where we don't have the words, and so we're attempting to use words. How I handle it is usually I use a metaphor and then we drop it, and then I use an explanation and we drop it. But initially, for everyone, it's instant, because we are going beyond time. We cannot accumulate things and go in time and hope to be eventually beyond time, so it's instant. So that's, if we want to call it final, we can. Nothing is really final. It's instant. So when the mind gets incorporated, what's the word? When the mind gets used to operating in this new context, in this environment, there is
retrained in a way.
Retrained. Yeah. When the mind gets retrained, it starts with the original instant realization. The mind starts to get retrained, and there is refined realizations in between. The initial excitement, the initial honeymoon is kind of starts to be over. Oh my God, look at that. So refinement starts happening. The practical end of it starts to have, oh, okay, I can incorporate that too in this piece. Oh, that too I can incorporate in that piece. And that too I can incorporate into that piece. So those are the final touches that are not describable until there's nothing final, but because it keeps on happening, that there is a total relaxation into this possibility, into this context, knowing that the mind works just fine. Nothing that I have ever learned is lost. I don't have any ability that I have lost, except when I'm walking, when I'm doing anything, the mind is not talking to me. There's no conflict within me.
That's a wonderful thing. You say there's no conflict in you.
Right.
And so many of us,
right,
the human world, we have, there's the outer conflict, but we have our inner conflict, which of course contributes to the outer conflict.
That's why we live in the world, that's why reason the world the way it is. I call it the open air lunatic asylum.
Yeah.
It's,
Anyway, we've got about 10 minutes left, so I want to really use that time as effective as we can to find out more about your work and how I know you do seminars, and I think you do private sessions. So you free people from thought addiction. This is just some notes I made. You protect somebody from their mind, or you help them to protect themselves from their mind, or learn how to do that. And they help people go from a habitual thinking state to a non-thinking state, and they speak and act from a being state instead.
Right.
So I know you've covered it a little bit, but just talk more about, on a practical level, how that can manifest in people, that they go from this thinking of a habitual thinking to a non-thinking state.
The first thing I do, when I say I do, it's figure of speech, is the first few prerequisites to awakening is that a person understands that the way they have used their mind before in a cumulative state, accumulating information, accumulating something to get somewhere, the way we use the mind so far, it's perfectly correct to use the mind that way to, say, build a bridge or something like that. Once they understand that a totally different approach has to be accepted and necessary even to try, even to actually go through this, what I call the eye of the needle. So once a person has a sufficient understanding that, okay, I know I don't know how this works, but I will not be able to understand it, and if I understand it, I will misunderstand it. All the truths that I have known to be true are maybe half-truth, maybe 100% truth, but I cannot base my listening entirely upon those assumptions that I have assumed in the past. There's like a million assumptions out there about spirituality, which is somehow connected to awakening. So the first prerequisite is to understand that that kind of cumulative approach and assumptions are not going to work. Once that's understood, then, and at the same time, we start like the personal sessions or even in group, where a very simple thing happens. I'm just sitting there, being, and people are looking inside. People are guided to look inside. All you have to do is touch for a second, no expectation. So if I say, you're looking at me, but be aware of your hand. Okay, that's it, no expectation. And then look at me, be aware of your butt touching the chair. And then I keep on talking. And then all of a sudden the person gets how simple this is. That this simplicity, when the mind slows down and eventually stops, is the it. What I mean by it is that is the beginning of awakening. Now we can begin the awakening process. My whole explanation prior to that was coming to this simple moment so that you can please accept this simplicity, right? The Indians in the Amazon didn't need to unlearn all these things. They just were sitting there, right? So then comes the next problem, the next challenge for me is that everyone misunderstands that they think that this nice feeling is like meditation. Oh, it's just like a meditation technique. I did this before, So the mind from memory says, okay, this is this and that meditation technique, and starts comparing immediately. So we are there. Nothing else is needed. If you can stay there, I'm not even needed. But they can't stay there because the mind will start coming at it. Oh, it's just like meditation. No, it's not meditation. Meditation has a beginning and an end. This is a feeling, a sensing of existence. This is a sensing of your being. When your being recognizes its own being, you will not need me, and I don't want to call this meditation, simply because this is not in time. As soon as we enter this being state, if I can call it a state, it's no longer in time. That expression we can also take further, but we don't want to at this point because it's really absolute time, but that's another discussion. Now if we're staying here, we're actually, the mind starts relearning to operate that, oh, there is this being, there is this context. There is this nurturing foundation that I can use. But the mind will come up with all kinds of comparisons. And I've experienced this hundreds of times from my students consistently. The mind has an amazing ability to come up, to try to complicate this, to try to compare it, put it away in their memory so it can access it later. And because this feeling right now, this sensation right now, is not going to be the same 5 minutes from now. And we can't recall it.
Yeah.
So what I do is nothing. The more nothing I do, the better. I'm really providing the space. I just sit there, within which, if they wish, they can stay longer and longer and longer
and that,
and longer.
As you say, is the beginning of an awakening process.
Exactly, that's the beginning. So unless someone starts looking inside, their awakening has not started yet.
Okay, I want to ask you one more thing before we finish. What's it like for you being a master of silence?
Well, I wish I didn't have to be called anything. To operate in this dimension, we have to be called as something.
Yes.
And so, a friend of mine called me in Hungarian Csendmester, which means master of silence, and it kind of stuck. To operate as such, my life is not any different than anybody else's. My life is exactly the same. I no longer get excited about a profitable idea as much as before, or my response to things are very different, but I see the world as is. I don't see things and people and situations through the old bias I used to see through. And the normal mind looks at the world and says, okay, what filter do I bring in to look through? Ian McNay, British, friendly, nice guy, you know, I mean, there is a filter of looking. While now, I just look at the way it is. It's not like my world is pink.
The way it is.
The way it is. If I see anger, it's anger. It's not like I don't see anger. It's not like I see the world in pink glasses at all.
Yeah.
Just the way it is. But coming from this nurturing foundation, looking out from this nurtured foundation, even the so-called ugliness, quote unquote, is ugly, still ugly, misbehavior is still misbehavior, but there is no judgment or reaction at all.
Yeah.
There's not even no judgment. It's just love. And if I happen to be close to reaction to something, I just go just a little bit deeper.
And that's the key, isn't it? And I
Yeah.
think that's where you've been going right from the start, a little bit deeper in your journey. And
Right.
And I guess the journey is ongoing.
Yes, it's ongoing this way.
Yeah. Okay. I think that's a great place to finish. The ongoing journey this way.
This way, yes.
Yeah. I'm going to actually show Nurit's book, your wife's book, because it has a lot about your story.
Yes.
So this book, The Blind Leading the Blonde on the Road to Freedom, Confessions of a Recovering Spiritual Junkie, is written by Nurit Owen, who I'm actually interviewing next. But the reason I'm showing it now is that it also has Gabor's story in there and some conversations between Nurit and Gabor. So you might like to find this book if you were pulled towards Gabor's journey and intrigued by what he had to say. Thank you very much, Gabor, for coming along to Conscious TV, coming all the way from Budapest especially. That's very much appreciated. And thank you everyone out there for watching Conscious TV, and I hope we see you again soon. Goodbye.
Hi, this is Gábor, Gábor Harsányi. I'm doing a short guided meditation for Conscious TV. And my attempt is to guide you and guide you to stay in the present moment, actually. We usually call something like this meditation, but I don't like to call it meditation. I would call it rather the reproportioning of attention. Normally our attention goes out and stays out. And that's how we live our life. That's the expectations of others. society, etc. By reproportioning our attention, we keep some of the attention outside and some inside. There is a consistent, if there is a consistent attention inside, and the attention is reproportioned for inner and outer, then the mind tends to will and will have a tendency to line up with the body. And when the mind and the body is in alignment, then you're in the present moment. This present moment is not a small piece of time stolen away from time. It's out of duality. This is something that's your birthright, that's something very natural to every person, and it's beyond time. Or I could also say it's in absolute time. If you're just sitting comfortably somewhere, just keep looking at me, and just relax, nothing major will happen, no expectation. And just for a moment feel the chair under your butt. Keep looking at me and feel the chair. Keep looking at me and feel your foot. What I mean by feeling your foot is that you are aware that your foot is there. You don't have to look down to see if it's there. You're feeling your foot and you're feeling the vitality in it. You make it shine. For those of you who would be more comfortable in closing your eyes, please do so. Keep looking at me if your eyes is open. And feel your hands. Be aware of your hands. Feel the vitality. Feel it shine. Feel the intensity, the aliveness in your hand. And we'll do the same thing with your chest now. Be aware of your chest. Focus on your chest. Make it shine. Every breath you take will increase the intensity of this shine, will increase the aliveness of your body hundreds and hundredfolds. Every breath you take will increase the intensity. Feel your shoulders. Be aware of them. Feel the vitality, make it shine. Feel your thighs. Feel your knees. Feel the vitality, make it shine. Feel your stomach, make it shine. Every breath you take connects your so-called inner body and increases the intensity of this inner focus, the intensity of this inner aliveness. If your eyes are closed, slowly open your eyes, but before opening your eyes, make a decision that you're going to keep some of that attention within. Of course, if you didn't close your eyes, then you didn't close your eyes. So we are keeping some of the attention within. This is what we mean by the kingdom of God is within. This is the simplicity of it. This is your birthright. This is the beginning of awakening, beginning of spiritual learning. We are now beyond time, or I could say in absolute time. Keep looking and feeling inside. There's no expectations. We're not expecting anything to happen. One very important thing, this is not a meditation. Your mind will tend to tell you this is the same as a meditation. It's always now, it's always now, it's always now. A meditation is in time, has a beginning and an end. This is the reproportioning of your attention. I don't know what to call it. I will probably call it reproportioning. If I must call it something, the less I try to call it something, the better. Just be with me. This is the so-called knocking on the door that Jesus talks about. And if your hearing has shifted a little bit, then the door is opening. This is the you that's already within you. I didn't invent this. I didn't do anything to you. I'm simply sitting here looking at you. What's in me is in you. And in every living thing. From this peaceful, nurturing perspective, it's not possible to have any harmful thoughts towards anyone or anything. Just keep being with me. No expectation. Remember to keep some of your attention inside. Any body part will do. For most people, the awareness of your hands from inside is the simplest. But you might find that for you it's the foot or the chest. It doesn't really matter. One touch, just one touch within is worth thousands of thousands and thousands of hours of doing something without. It almost seems like you're willing to open the door to God, paying attention this way. So now God, the universe, can be with you. Now your mind and my mind can operate from a different context. This is a contextual shift. You will not lose your memory. You will not use your ability. You're not going to be irresponsible. It's a perfectly functional space. Stay here with me. What I'm saying is not as important as your inner attention. You have to, if you want, focus within. No one can do it for you. But it's easy. If you look within, you try to go within, it's very, very easy. Why should your birthright be hard? Or why should your birthright take 20, 30, 40 years to deserve by accumulating good deeds? It's yours now. You can operate from this space. It's very functional. This is your being. This is how we were when we were children. It's not complex. It's not mine. It's not yours. By doing this, you're not going to be a superior person. Neither an inferior one, of course. Life is going to be so much easier. Challenges will come, but you will know how to approach them. Do this simple thing of reproportioning as frequently as you can during the day while you're doing anything else. Standing in line in the store is a great way to practice. Washing dishes, washing your car, walking, talking. Try this as a listening skill. Someone has a tendency to talk too much, just focus within, and just be. And you will see magic happening in your relationships. It's yours, you can only have it now. You can't have this in the future. Now. And now. Put this on, put this tape on as frequently as possible. Practice it, and most importantly, practice it in your everyday life. Don't allocate some time to practice. Whenever you think of it, whenever it gets to you, now, 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 reproportion, reproportion, reproportion. I wish for you to be able to maintain this natural state that I cannot call a state. With a little bit of attention and intention, you will be able to maintain this. God bless you, and all the love to you and to yours.